For question 12, Mary raised some money. She gave 2/5 of the money to charity. She gave 1/4 of the money to a housing project. She gave the rest of the money to a first aid group. What percentage of the money did she give to the first aid group? So the first thing you would do is get the percentages of the charity and the housing project. So the charity was 2/5, and all we do is just times that with 100 to change it to a percentage, which then becomes 40%. We take the 1/4 for the housing project and we times that by 100, which changes this fraction to a percentage, which is 25%. So once we've got that, we can add those two percentages up. So 65% is what she has for the charity and the housing project. To find the rest is you just take 100% and you take away that 65%, and that should equal your 35%. So 35% is what she gave to the first aid group. For question 13, the diagram below shows a rectangular garden with a circular pond in the centre. Work out the area of the pond. State the units of your answer. So as you can see, the formula for area of a pond is area equals pi times radius squared. As it's a circle, this is the formula you would use. Then it's pi times 0.6 squared. It says 1.2 meters there, but because it's a radius, you have to use 0.6 squared. We work out that, and when we round it down, it should be 1.13 meters squared. So this would be the area of the circular pond. So question B, paving costs £30 per square metre. It can only be bought in whole square metres. How much will it cost to pave the sections shown in the diagram? So first of all, we're doing 6.5 times 1.6. So it's the area of the rectangle there on the previous page. You'll see it length times width for that. And what you're doing is for a 1.13 divided by 2 is the semicircle on that particular rectangle. And we're getting that's the area of the semicircle, which is 0.565. And what we're doing is we're taking those two things away. We're taking out that semicircle. So 10.4 take away 0.565 is equal to 9.83. So that's the paved section we're looking for, and to round that up to 10 meters squared. Now we had to round that up because in the question it says it's bought in whole square meters, so we round it up to 10 meters squared and we times it with 30 to get the total cost of this, which is £300. Question 14, Leah wants to check how economical her car is. She travels 275 miles using 22 litres of petrol. How many miles does her car travel per litre of petrol? The way you work that out is you take 275 and you would divide by 22, which would equal 12.5 miles for the answer. For question B, the 275-mile journey took Leah 5 hours 30 minutes. What was her average speed for the journey? So you can see we're looking at speed, distance and time. If we use a triangle, we can find out that speed is equal to distance divided by time. Because it's miles per hours and it says hours and minutes, we have to change this whole thing to hours, which is 5.5 hours. So you can see 5.5 at where the time should be. So that's 5.5 hours. So it's 275 divided by 5.5, which is 50 miles per hour. Okay, so Dean bought a new car. He had to pay £220 plus 20% VAT per month for 3 years. The mileage allowed before any charge was 30,000 miles for the 3 years. Each additional mile was charged at 8 pence per mile. After 3 years, Dean had driven 37,200 miles. How much did Dean pay in total for the 3-year period? So when we look at that, we first of all changed 3 years into 36 months because it said per month. We get 20% of 220 from the first line. And we find that, so it's 220 times 20 over 100, which is 20. And we find the 20% is £44. Because it's VAT, we're adding it on. So it's 220 plus 44 is equal to 264. The next step, we do 264 times 36. Now that 36 is your 36 months that he's paying this. So it should have a total of £9,504. So this one dealt with the car, this first step. So the next one is the usage of the car. So the mileage before any charge was 30,000 miles for the 3 years. Each additional mile was charged at 8 pence a mile. After 3 years, Dean had driven 37,200. So because there wasn't any charge up to 30,000, we can do 37,200 take away 30,000, which is 7,200 miles. So this is the miles he's been charged for. So he's charged at 8 pence per mile. So it's 7,200 times 8 pence. And we find when we multiply by pence, we get the answer in pence, and we just change it to pounds. So that's the cost of the usage of the car, which is £576. And to get the total cost of the car and its usage is 9,504 plus 576, which is equal to 10,080. So question 16, it says Jane owns a hotel. On Monday morning, 54 of her 75 guests had breakfast. What percentage had breakfast? So the way to work that out is it's 54 out of 75. So you would just write it as 54 over 75 or 54 divided by 75. And to change this fraction into a percentage, we just times it by 100, which then becomes 72%. Question 17a, it says multiply out. So it's 5 times multiplied or times and with everything inside this bracket. So it'll be 5 times 2t, which is 10t, and 5 times 7, which is 35. And that's the answer. We've expanded that bracket. So for question B, it says factorise. So we're going to put it into a bracket. You can see that 8 is outside the bracket. That's the highest factor I can get from 8 and 16. Then we think about 8 times what would give me 16r, 8 times 2r, so 2r goes inside the bracket, and 8 times what would give me 8, it's 8 times 1. So basically, that is what you've got inside the bracket there. So question 18a, write an expression in terms of x for the perimeter of the triangle shown. Give your answer in its simplest form. So you can see it there. When it says about perimeter, it means that you're going to have to add all your sides up. So we've got 2x plus 3, that's the first one. And then we're adding x. Then we're adding x plus 9. So that's the perimeter, those 3 sides, if you add them 2 together. And when you simplify it, you should get 4x plus 12, because 2x plus x is going to be 4x, and 3 plus 9 is 12. So the perimeter of this triangle is 32. Write down an equation in terms of x. So that just means x is in the answer. So you'll see it as 4x plus 12 is equal to 32. That's the expression for the perimeter, and the perimeter is actually 32. Question C says, solve your equation to find x. So we take this equation and bring it down, and it's 4x plus 12 equals 32. We take away 12 from each side, which then would become 4x equals 20, and we divide by 4 on each side, which then would become x equals 5. So question 19 deals with questionnaires. So got 19A, Fiona wanted to do a survey about attendance at her school. She designed a questionnaire for students to complete. One of the questions was, how many days have you had off? State one criticism of her question. Now, I put down as no time period specified. So that means if someone comes up to you and asks you, how many days have you had off? Do they mean, oh, in the last week, in the last month, in the last 2 years? We don't know. So basically, no time period was specified. For question 2 there, she decides to give her questionnaires out to the first 20 students coming out of the Year 12 assembly one Monday. State 2 reasons why our sample may not be representative of the whole school population. I put she only asks Year 12s, so that's not a whole school. It's not a representation of the whole school, just asking Year 12s. And she only asks students who were in on that day, which means if you wanted to get a good broad range, you would need to have to ask every day and try and get as many people as possible for that. So question B, Fiona asked the school office for information about pupils who had arrived late in school on a certain day. They told her that 14 pupils were late that day. The list below shows how many minutes late each pupil was. Show this information on an ordered stem and leaf diagram. So this is your stem and leaf diagram. You're taking 0, 0, 8, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 5. Now you can't actually read it. Does it mean 0.8? Does it just mean 8, 1.1? So basically you need a key, which is important to have in your exams. So that just gives you an indication of what everything means. So you have 3/8, which means 38. So that just means 11, 12, 14, 15, 23, 38, that kind of thing. So it's ordered, which means they're in ascending order, they're not mixed up, like highest and lowest, etc. So like starting with the lowest to the biggest.